One of my favorite branding stories is my experiences with Delta Airlines. Up until last year, I flew about 150 times a year. Keep in mind there are 52 weeks in a year. I flew about 150 times a year. Delta was my airline. Notice I used the word my. It was my airline. And let me tell you why Delta was my airline. I had to fly from, on one particular trip, I had to fly to speak at a show in Boston. I live in Palm Beach, Florida. So to fly on Delta, I had to fly from West Palm Beach to Atlanta, from Atlanta to JFK, then from JFK a hopper up to Boston. And that series of flights, a coach ticket on it, probably cost me at least 2 times, maybe 3 times, what a non-stop would have cost me on American or on a discount flyer like Spirit. But I chose Delta anyway, and here's why. First of all, I bought a coach ticket and they automatically upgraded me to first class because I was a diamond flyer with them. But that aside, my flight from Atlanta to JFK got in late. And there was no way I was going to make it over to the commuter terminal. I mean, it's just too far. There was no way. So I'm already thinking I've got to plan another flight. Maybe Delta will help me out on this. I step off of the plane onto the jetway, ready to go into the terminal. And there's a lady there holding that sign that says Delta welcomes Gary Green. So I walk up to her and said, "Hi, I'm Gary Green." She said, "You've got a tight connection. Come with us, please." She takes me down the stairs. I never go into the terminal. She takes me down the stairs. There's a Porsche Cayenne waiting for me downstairs with a driver and someone to help me there. I get into the Porsche Cayenne. They fire it up. We shoot across the tarmac. We drive to the other terminal. They pull up beside the plane, take me up the stairs, and I go up the stairs and I make the plane in time. Now, they didn't do that because I'm a guy that has a TV show and because I write books and all that kind of stuff. In fact, they have no idea who I am. But they had an algorithm going on somewhere in their system, in their back-end system, that said you've got a diamond level player, a diamond level customer, and they've got a problem. Implement system number 403, which means print out the sign automatically, send the car over, send the 2 people over. And who knows how many times they do that. I'll talk more about Delta's numbers in a minute. But that made Delta move in my life from the airline or an airline to my airline. What if we could do that with casinos? What if, I built a casino on an island, St. Kitts. And I went down there to St. Kitts. Delta doesn't go to St. Kitts. Bummer, man. I had to fly American Airlines. So I'm flying American down to St. Kitts. I bought a first class ticket, so I got the chocolate chip cookies and all the cool stuff they do. But it wasn't my airline. Nobody said, "Oh, Mr. Green, good to see you." Nobody slapped me on the back. It wasn't the same. It wasn't my airline. It was nice, but wasn't my airline. Branding, once again, is incredibly powerful.
What would you say to somebody that's, struggling with that concept and wants to live a life true to themselves? Is there anything that you've learned over your years that you might want to mention?
Wouldn't it be sad to be on your deathbed, prepared to die, and your last thought on this earth would be, what if only I had tried to, and then you're gone? Why live like that? If there's something you should try to do, go do it. Damn it, go do it. Yeah. And if it doesn't work, fine. Then go back to your comfort zone or go to something else. But it would just be so sad to have a life at the very end of your life. Whether it's business, whether it's a person, what would it have been like if I had asked her out on a date? What would it have been like if I hadn't been afraid to brand myself? What would it be like if I didn't stay in the back room hidden in the closet? I think that's tragically sad. I think people should always try to do everything. I want to emphasize again, as I say this over and over, though, yes, there are failures. man, I could write I should write my next book on all the shit I failed at, man. There's a lot of stuff. But you know, along the way, you find lots of good people.
Yeah.
You learn a lot, and you take all that with you because your glass of water there is percolating.
Yeah.
You take that with you, and it percolates to the next bubble that rises to the top.
100%. 100%. So